Hello and welcome back to another episode of Supercoach Insider. My name is Ben.
And I'm Chris.
I'm Swizz.
And welcome back to another episode. We're going through a team-by-team analysis. It's the GWS Giants, the Josh Kelly list podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Before I move on, SC Insider 100 is our hashtag SC Insider 100. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. All the audio platforms as well, Spotify, Soundcloud, Stitcher, you name it, and on the YouTube.
Yeah, I'm not going to fuck that up like he did. So you just search for a Supercoach Insider.
Hey, at least I sound enthused. Joined as well also by Swizz, as always, a profound and prolific, valued member of this SE podcast. Swizzy.
I switched up, mate. I'm onto the vodka, just so you know.
I've tried to take a step back. The cast strength whiskey was knocking me about a little bit. Hence, you can probably tell the end of the Geelong podcast. I'm like, no, I wrap it up. You wrap it up. Maybe I should back it off to beers if we're doing another couple tonight.
I'm on the cordials too.
You need to get on. What were you on with your mate, Nico, that came on?
Yeah, mate. That was literally before I went in for surgery. So I was like, let's go all out. Big day. That was awesome. I had so much fun. And then since then, it's like, just been drinking waters and cordials and shit like that.
Fair enough.
You know, a forced rest is coming.
I know when
so
I'm
let's just go out.
Yeah.
Let's just go on a bender. I've got a forced rest coming. I'll be able to recover. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Before we move on, we are going into GWS, mate. So we have a quick disclosure: you can't talk about Josh Kelly. And
about Josh Kelly.
Swizzers go. Let's hit it.
All right. So they finished 16th, 6 wins, 16 losses, percentage of 84.6. Easily won against the teams around them, but were consistently 4 to 8 goals off the better teams. Third worst attack in the league, 10 scores below 70 and 3 under 40. So, obviously losing Jeremy Cameron definitely hurt their ability to score going forward. So then how do they also solve their losses to their midfield with Taranto and Hopper going out? What does Adam Kingsley do with their game plan? Probably doesn't stuff around with it as much as Leon Cameron did in those late days. So who was their starting midfield will be the big question we'll be talking about. How do they rectify their scoring issues as well? Ranked 14th for experience, 12th for age, so they still got some older players on that list. Ins and outs. Number 1 pick they traded up for to get Aaron Cadman, which will obviously be the future of solving their forward issues. You know, he's a direct replacement for Jeremy Cameron. So we've got the number 1 pick there. Who else we got through there? Toby Bedford from a trade from Melbourne, come play small forward. Apparently actually looked good in their hit up, their latest hit out. Jason Gilby, category B rookie. Nick Madden, probably the most picked person in Supercoach at the moment. The massive ruckman. Is about 204 centimeters and 100 something kilograms. Toby McMullen, pick 34. Max Grawinski, pick 22. Darcy Jones, pick 21. And Harry Ralston, pick 16 from their academy. Spitted a little bit earlier than what they were expecting. Out was Jared Brander, who was delisted. Tanner Bruin with that trade down to Geelong. Matty DeBoer retired. Bobby Hill traded to Collingwood. Hopper traded to Richmond. Taranto traded to Richmond as well. Zach Sproul delisted. And Jack Stein also delisted. So obviously have quite a few big names out of there, but even a couple of the...
Can we just say from a Supercoach perspective, we applaud GWS for finally getting rid of Matt DeBoer. Thank you. Thank you, GWS. Thank you.
the anti-Supercoacher.
Apparently Stein had a great off-season. Once he finished up, he was just knocking down points.
Well, he got picked up, didn't he? By who picked him up? Stein. Gold Coast? Someone picked up Stein.
Someone picked him up recently? Might have. Not too sure.
Might have been a German brew.
Oh, come on. Apparently he didn't leave on great terms. Apparently there was a bit of a stain left on his reputation.
We're off on a tangent.
We are. That has started early. All right. So, and good night to you.
So what's their draw like? It's pretty soft, isn't it?
All right. So their fixture, they play twice: Adelaide, Carlton, Essendon, Hawthorn, Sydney, and Bulldogs. So it is as soft as you can probably get with Adelaide, Essendon, and Hawthorn there. And even the top teams, we think Sydney probably, drops back a little bit this year. So, yeah, not too bad. Their first 4, Adelaide home, West Coast away, Carlton home, Essendon away. Last 3, Port, Essendon and Carlton. Bye is round 15. So it is a pretty good fixture from there. And I know that's what makes a couple of these premiums, especially starting them, of more interest.
Especially Josh Kelly. I feel like Josh Kelly could be the one, guys.
The mighty Kelly. Where's that GIF? Where's the GIF? All right, so let's get into those premiums. Premium number 1, Josh Kelly.
Thank you, Smith.
You gotta love it.
Good.
What can we say about the GOAT?
Not only is he an excellent Supercoach player, but he also really likes to fuck with Ben, which is my personal favorite.
The biggest issue, and that comes from like 2 years ago when, for whatever reason, Leon Cameron started him up forward for those first 6 weeks, and then after that, finished the year at 107, but it's just started pumping up massive scores, and I think that's when you traded him out, Benny Roy. Last year, it's funny because we sort of said that progression with Kelly. You had that like 113, then went to 117, and we really thought he was just going to go off the charts. Then Cameron played him forward, but then still he's from then round 7 onwards was fantastic. But last year, only the average of 105. Obviously, there was some different reasons for that. May have not played up in the guts the entire time, bit of playing around the team, missed a game. I think there was that maybe injury against Brisbane. So, it was a little bit up and down. We know him at his best. Can be one of the better super coaches in it, but we've never actually seen that year where he's gone next level to that sort of 120, 125.
Well,
we've been
I think
for.
the key to all this is pretty much the CBA splits. Like if you look at GWS's CBA splits, he only had a 46% CBA split last year. Cornelio 49%. Kieran Briggs, which is weird in his games. No. Yeah. So Jacob Hopper only had 52%. Tom Green had 58%. I think even a large portion of that you got to consider was after obviously those first 6 weeks, but that's still not like you'd think that would be much, much higher. Like Taranto was 44%. Callum Ward 38%. They just never settled on midfield last year. I think one of the big things that's happened so far this preseason is they look to be actually settling on a midfield. Like these are the guys that are going to be our main midfield guys, and we're going to have a couple of guys that come in outside of that. But no, these guys are going to be our main midfielders. Do you think, Swizz, that Josh Kelly could be one of those main midfielders?
He has been in that intra-club that they played today. And
so he could be an option. Is that right, Ben?
Well, Green, Cornelio seemed to be the more settled lineup that they had playing through the game.
Absolutely.
And that's what you're saying. Like, it was hard for them last year because they had to split between so many. Hopper 52%, Taranto 44%, and Tanner Bruin 25% when he got games. So you've got those three have all moved out. And Callum Ward still at 38%, who's playing.
He's playing forward,
just forward. So all of a sudden, you're looking at quite a large percentage of there that's got to go somewhere. Tom Green was their number one CBA, only at 58%. And I think, we're sort of saying those numbers, but let's just give a comparison to say the Gold Coast, who we haven't talked about yet. But the Gold Coast last year had Tuke Miller 80%, Rao 81%, Anderson 72%. So that gives a bit of a comparison when the GWS's number one was Tom Green at 58%. There was just probably too many cooks in the kitchen and just trying to balance them. So a lot of them would line up at half forward, forward pocket, off the bench. Yeah, just a team with way too many midfilders.
I think you pretty much nailed it on its head. When you look at, and the reason we look at the CBA is because you're looking for opportunity, right? So then when you look at, Taranto 44%, not there. Okay, Hopper 52% when he played, not there. Callum Ward kicked 2 goals in the forward line. So as you said, 38% not there. Bruin 25% not there. Lockie Ash apparently on the halfback flank, he got 24% not there. So there's a lot of opportunity for these players to get more chunk of the pie, which then leads to more opportunity. And I do agree, Josh Kelly is a great option probably for draft. I'm not really going there as standard because I'm not game enough to take that punishment again.
Exactly. Is Josh Kelly up there with Cripps and Brayshaw? Is he that 115 guy again? Because he's done it 2 years in a row.
Probably that's it. I see a world where Cripps could push 120. with like depending on Walsh and if he gets into beast mode. I don't know if Kelly's ever going to be that guy that's going to go into the 120s for me. I always worry
I
about
think
that.
he
Like
could. He's just never had the role.
I think in his body sometimes, and there's a ceiling there. Now they do have the draw.
The body's an issue. I'm not gonna lie with you. The body's an issue, and it always probably will be, and that's probably the biggest thing. Like if he goes inside and he goes 120 for 6 weeks and then gets injured, that it's worthless to you, right? So that's a consideration. But yeah, I think he's definitely in their starting 3 midfielders. He's their best midfielder.
And that's it. So these percentages, so you're basing it around, I think it's about 400% because you have 4 starting midfielders and one's usually a ruck. So yeah, but that is ridiculously low for a team. And I'm just trying to scroll through and think they might be the lowest for their top end, like your top end midfielder. So yeah, you expect straight away Green's going to improve on that. But yeah, for Kelly, 46%, yeah, you would expect him, even if that was increased to 65, like that average last year of a
105
a 105, he's definitely probably 10 points under what at probably minimum. I don't know if he can push in the 120s, but definitely undervalued. And I know
there's the thing at his price though. Does it matter if he goes 120?
Well, that's the argument, and this is the thing where it's the comparison that we all make. So he's slightly cheaper than Cripps and Steele and Brayshaw, who we've talked about 2 of those guys that we're definitely looking at. He's slightly more expensive than your LDUs, Tom Mitchells, Tom Greens. Now, how many of these guys can you start? Now, is he the better option of all of them? Like he's got the ceiling, he can do that. We know he can consistently score. Can he stay on the park long enough to make him a worthwhile option? We love the fixture, like that fixture to start the year.
Adelaide West Coast.
Adelaide, they have round 15, the last one. So
that's a shit buy,
and it is not a great buy.
Not for forwards anyway.
Nah, but also mids because you got Bont, McRae. They also share that same buy as well.
Boys, and you're missing one key fact is every year we say don't pick GWS players.
Oh, I know.
Now,
that's until Leon Cameron left.
Yeah, okay. So now the coach is gone, and you're just hoping, hey, fresh slate. This guy's such a nice coach, and he's just going to put people where they're great players. I mean, I do like the fact there's a little bit more transparency in the preseason so far from them. But again, here we go. We go, don't pick GWS players. Next month, new coach. Oh, Green's doing well. Oh, Trendo's doing well. Oh, Callahan, yeah, what a great guy. And then all of a sudden you get sucked in. You have 3 GWS players on field.
Well, and I get it, but it's hard to not ignore that start to the year as well. Mate, Adelaide, West Coast, Carlton, Essendon, Hawthorn. Like, okay, the Blues are going to improve, but he has absolutely towered the Blues in the past. But if he's just running around doing whatever he wants against those other 4 sides, he could be the one that could be the number 1 player after week 5.
Mm-hmm.
That
is the softest start.
The scoring is not the issue there.
All right, who's next?
Yeah, so that's and then the obvious next is we'll talk about his buddy there in the midfield, young Tom Green. And this kind of comes premium / breakout because he's started the year with those massive numbers. I know a lot of people obviously looking at him to start with, just because we're thinking this is the year. Now he's got the opportunity, got that midfield. He was already their number 1 CBA midfielder, but he's going to obviously get a lot more percentage in there. 17% owned at the moment. And
there's also something to be said about, yes, he was in there a lot, but if he's in there with Hopper and Taranto and those kind of guys, and is he getting
a different role?
It's completely different role. He's playing a defensive side midfielder. He's playing the guy that doesn't get the ball tapped to him. He's not the hunter that he should be this year. It's a very, very different role when those guys aren't in the admin mix as well. So
I think also that comes down to last year. Like he's scoring completely tailed off at the second, like the last third of the season, and 2 reasons for that, because they had some of those players all back playing, so he missed out on his CBAs and went and played some time forward, but also young body, and he's still. What's this? I think it's his 4th season in the system. So now it's kind of like now he's got those games under the belt. We're all expecting, he'll able, be out there on the ground, increase his time on ground, be able to take the bumps and the hits a lot more. So it's hard to ignore
Yeah,
that
well,
start to
round
the
8,
year.
to prove your
Mhm.
point, round 18, he went 27% CBAs, then he missed round 19, and then 20 went 46%, 41%, 50%, 46%. So
Yep.
his CBA is absolutely just tanked in the back end of the year.
Two things. Now, number one, we spoke about the CBA side of things. So when he went 65% CBA or more, the games he did, he averaged 112.3.
Oh,
Mhm.
that's the lockiest of locks that I've ever heard. Why is it not in everyone's team? I don't understand.
And the second thing I forgot.
You don't
but
need a
again,
second thing. Like,
I don't need a second thing, no. So, again,
But that's the thing, because I know, like, obviously that was the thing that gave Abdul the big start last year, because he started the year 164, 106, 147, 92, 115, 108, 107.
and he has a high
So,
ceiling. That was the second thing.
and he's got the ability to go big. And we've just talked about that fixture about Kelly. Same fixture for him against those weaker teams, against teams that are going to be, Adelaide are going to have a couple of young midfielders in against him. West Coast potentially might have either older guys coming back from injury, or they might be giving an opportunity to younger midfield. Carlton potentially without Walsh and Hewitt up against him. Essendon, they've probably got the seasoned midfield, so that's a little bit different. And then Hawthorn, like a real young midfield in there against. So those first 5 weeks, he could start
Can
on
we
a
also
heater.
talk about, I don't know, this could be me just being optimistic, but GWS aren't that bad. Like yes, they lost, Taranto, Hopper, they lost the guts of their midfield. But it's not like that they didn't have top 10 pick midfielders just lining up ready to go. You know what I mean? Like, they've got a fantastic midfield without them. They don't need Hopper and Taranto.
Yeah, that's not their problem. I said their problem before is they're scoring. They can't score.
Yeah. So
It's not their midfield.
they bring in Cadman.
Yeah.
They move Himmelberg back forward. So there's two options that they now have forward that they didn't have. They could get some health into Jesse Hogan. That would be all right. And all of a sudden they would actually be up and about. Like, I actually don't hate their list. What they need tweaking is their game plan, which I'm hoping comes through with Adam Kingsley, and that will sort itself out quicker rather than later. But with playing Whitfield and Ash behind the ball, they've got Sam Taylor there, who's absolutely beast centre half back. Like, their spine is fantastic moving forward.
2/3 of their team's fine. No problem.
Absolutely. But they're not. Would you say? I don't think they're bottom 8. I think they're sort of. They could finish finals. Like,
no,
8
mate,
to 10.
I've got them locked in bottom 6 because I don't see them scoring enough to challenge. And I think they are 4 goals off the better teams. It proved last year.
I still think they're a couple of years away, but they definitely have the young talent to push through.
Yeah, it's not. I think Kingsley gives opportunity. I can really say of Kelly and Canelio around that ball, but young Callahan and Green, it's the start of their partnership in there together. And they're given the opportunity to them to develop. A couple of those other younger guys, young Cadman coming in. But
I might be a little bit more optimistic.
The midfield.
I see Whitfield back there, and I go, "Ooh!"
Don't even mention him.
Just quickly on Green as well. The beast contested ball winners, kind of like Cripps, etc. They're harder to tag, and teams generally try not to lock them down as much. Kelly, the Rolls Royce distributor, can be tagged instead or negated, or even now more teams are looking for that halfback flank. And Whitfield could definitely be someone that they might tag instead. So it's also a benefit with Green and his high contested numbers and his ball winning ability, even from a junior perspective now coming through. It's kind of like trying to tag Patrick Cripps. It's a very hard thing to do. And I think there's a little bit of security in that pick as well for that.
Yeah. So he's the one that has been a bit out of my side, in and out of my side, but I do like him, and I can see where I'll probably be starting him.
I keep flipping up going, well, do I want to spend $500,000 on Dacos and he might go 100 or whatever, or Green for $500,000 as well, maybe a smidge more, right? So what, 520, 530?
534, yeah.
Yeah, so but for that price, I'm like, well, hang on, he could probably go 110, 115. He's definitely going to average more. So
I said this in a tweet earlier, and this is important with it's a structural talk rather than a specific GWS talk, but it does tie in that last year there was only 4 guys that went 120, and then there was 11 guys that went between 110 and 116. So what you're hoping for really from your 8 midfielders, you don't really want the top 8. It's not possible. You're not going to get that. But you do want 4 guys that are in that realm at that bottom, so somewhere between 110 to 116, and you want the 4 top guys, right? So you do want those 4 top guys. Now, who those 4 top guys are is anyone's guess. Now, we bet on someone like Clary and Bont to be those guys next year, but last year it was what, Took,
Laird.
Clary, Laird, and
Neil.
one other, Neil, right? So, look, not saying it couldn't be those guys this year, but it's not guaranteed to be the same 4 every year. So all you're really wanting from Green, though, in that sort of situation is to be in that gap, in that middle, somewhere between 110 to 116. If you can get that, then he's absolutely a keeper and absolutely worth it for the entire season. At 530K, you're not gonna pick up a mid-season guy at that averaging that sort of numbers for 530K. Not during the season. It's not going to happen. So just be wary of that going in, because that's the sort of value that will change things for your team. I think that people are sort of dismissing value often and just going, look, I just need the best players. And that's fine. If you want to get the 8 best absolute 600, 700K players and load your team up and just go guns and rookies, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I just personally feel like the game's changed and evolved to the point where that's not winning you the competition anymore. That's not going to get you top 1,000 anymore. You need to be a little bit more flexible with your starting team and have a little bit more to play with, have a little bit more mid-pricers, and go that way. And so structure-wise, I think someone like Tom works perfectly in the midfield for that reason.
So when I talk back to last year, we spoke. You have to look for opportunities for people who are cheap, who might have a good run or have a good ceiling to try and give you a good back end of the season or whenever you bring them in, right? So the same thing we spoke about Petrarca, right? We're like, okay, well, he was super cheap, and you're like, hey, you probably just have to jump on this guy. And he fluctuated early. I think it's that middle period where some people jumped on and maybe he wasn't ready, right? But the back third of the year, he averaged 114. Same as he did in the front 8 rounds of the year. He just had that lull in the middle sort of period. But again, you're getting a guy for 530K or whatever in Petrarca, and he got me a 114 average in the back end. Except you're just talking about going, hey, okay, well, I can't afford a $700,000 player in Laird at the moment. And Laird has a really not a tough draw, but a fairly challenging draw for the first 9 rounds. And maybe I want to try and target a $700,000 player when he drops and just pick my M8 now, and then spend my money to get the guy who will be top 4 in their position.
Well, this is where sort of mid-prices come into play in this structure conversation, because your mid-prices only need to make, say, 100 grand, maybe 120 grand each or whatever, and then you go one down, one up, and you get a lead. So you've made points along the way. You've then identified a rookie that's on the bubble that you can bank some cash really quickly as well, and then you've gone straight up to lead at an appropriate time once you've topped out with your mid prices. So it sort of accelerates the point to get to those uber premiums that you're going to need at some point. So mixing those two up is really important to allow
especially
you
with the boost too.
Yeah.
And this what this
allows
rookies down to early rookies. Imagine trying to downgrade 2 rookies to someone who's playing, and then upgrading one who's already kind of peaked in price. You're looking at 2 awesome rookies on the bubble or close to, and one rookie who's already kind of peaked in order to just get a premium. Or you just go, hey, I've got a mid-price, so 1 down, 1 up, bang, see you later, premium.
When all the rookies are peaking at 210K because they've just been subbed.
Yeah, I know.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
we wish you had more mid-prices.
Yeah, exactly.
And your $700,000 premium mids now drop down to $500,000.
Yeah, exactly right.
That's right. All right, so moving on, the third primo is Canelio, and he's the one that seems to go in and out of my side all the time, just because depending if I want 3 premium forwards or 4 premium forwards. Definitely looks like he's going to be playing more full-time guts. There's always that ability that he can push forward of that, but I think he's more lock and loaded in there. We saw it last year when he was playing in the midfield. He was absolutely dynamite, and we got him at just ridiculous price last year. Became a keeper for us, was awesome. Doesn't have probably as much, like I sit there and say, doesn't have the ceiling as some of the other guys, but he still put out that 174 against North Melbourne, which was fantastic. But he's more that guy that's going to go sort of 100 to 110 that in that midfield, but he's a forward. Like if he's a midfielder, we're like, no. But at 550 for a guy who's going to, it's hard to see a world unless he gets injured where he's not top 6. in that forward line.
Speaking of injury, 65% of the last 3 years he's played, so there is a risk there. But if he's fit and firing, I don't see any problem with it. The key thing to note as well, you spoke about playing in the guts. Now, I was kind of in and out similar to you, with him in my side. But then I had a look, Callum Ward playing forward, kicked a couple of goals. I was like, oh, that's someone who's not playing midfield. And then Whitfield playing in defence has been what's been going on. So that's another person not playing midfield. And then Ash playing defence, not playing in the midfield. So again, I'm like, holy crap. And he dominated and played well as part of that midfield mix. And I had a look through the stats just as we started this podcast. When he had 50% CBAs or more last year, he averaged 108.
Yeah, exactly.
He's going to dominate.
To have that as a forward. So I think Dunkley's the clear number one. I think he's probably the clear number two forward this year.
I absolutely agree with that. Yeah. I mean, testament to the fact that as soon as Leon left last year and he started playing, I'm sure he had a chat with who actually did coach the second half of that year. Wasn't King?
Was it McVeigh?
No, he has a brother. Was it
McVeigh? It was McVeigh. Yeah. So they have a chat. He's like,
which McVeigh was it?
I think it was Mark.
Mark, yeah.
It was Mark, yeah. So he goes, so like, am I playing midfield now? He goes, yeah, sure, why not? Like, okay, bang, he averaged 111 for the rest of the year. Like, okay, so we've established that yes, he was played forward and he was thrown around all over the place by Cameron. I think he was scapegoated a lot of the last few years in GWS. For some reason, like I can't see why he's not a better midfielder than say Taranto. He's not a better midfielder than say Hopper. To me, he's a much better midfielder than those two guys. Maybe he doesn't have the two-way running ability of those guys, but he impacts the scoreboard from the midfield. He doesn't need to be forward to be able to do that. He can kick 1-2 goals a game from the midfield, and that's the difference between that. I actually think he's less valuable to the team forward than he's never been really a great forward. He's always been a good midfield, like goal-kicking mid. And there's those guys that can go forward and be impactful, like you say, Dusty and your DeGoes and guys that literally will play out of the square and be a really damaging forward. He's not that. That's not what he is. He's a guy that kicks goals from the midfield, from his run, from his spread, from his carry. And that's a different thing. And I think that somehow got confused along the way. And then he got just labeled as a forward and forever was just languishing in half forward town, not knowing what he was doing because he never played half forward in his entire career. Yeah, number 3 pick, unbelievable kid as a junior, just dominated everywhere, and then just went, "Oh, I'm playing half forward." What? Yeah, no, he's a forward. He's a gun. So he's a mid. He's a gun mid, and that's all there is to say. Like it is. And exactly. People who don't have him, like I get it. There's a glut of really great premium forward options at the moment, right? So I understand not picking him because structure, cash, trying to balance your team, etc. But to me, I'm exactly like Swizz. If he's not number 1, he's number 2. Yeah. He's I think arguably, I don't think it's really an argument. There's probably one other person I'd say has the potential to average more, but don't think he will, which is Butters. I think Butters could potentially average more if he was healthy and had the right role, but I don't think he's going to have the right role or be healthy. So,
I've got...
How many premiums are you guys playing in the forward line?
So at the moment I've got 3. This is the problem I've had. So it's Dunkley, Canelio, Taranto at the moment. I really want to get Rosie in there as my 4th. I've seen people of Cunnington, I've seen people of Butters and Dylan Moore. They seem to be the ones that come up the most. Others might have whatever, small percentage and stuff like that. But when it comes down to it, if I want to put the cash elsewhere, or if I want to put, say, an extra, like I've put Stewart back into my team. So Dunkley, that 4th forward goes out. And the only way I could get Canelio back in was to put Witts down to English, which I'm happy with at the moment anyway. That's fine for me as my second ruck, or my first ruck, depending on how that works. But every time I have Dunkley, Canelio as that 1-2, I think my team looks so much better.
Oh.
Don't bring Dylan Moore into it because some one person put him in their sides with. We're about to have a nice little bloody winger.
But it's true. Like I know people looking at you that option, your Butters, your Rosie types, something like that is your. I don't know who your.
Well, the thing with Rosie, Rosie's Rosie averaged 105 playing midfield last year, right? So that's fine. Like, but he's admitted that he's probably going to be the same as last year, right? Which means 105.
Yeah,
he's not. If Canelo is playing full-time midfield, he's getting way more CBAs than Rosie and he's averaging a lot more.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's a debate on who's better if you've got the cash. Don't get me wrong. I still think that Rosie is a fantastic option, which is why he's still in my team. I just don't think that he's on the same path. He's not in the same spectrum of average.
It became, it's been the debate of, okay, if I want to keep, say, a Stewart in my team, who goes and that, and that's what I've been debating, and I've managed to find the cash now to get both Stewart and Canelio in, which makes me, a bit more settled there. And that there's a potential that I take.
Here's how you did it. Ready? Zeeble. Am I right?
Oh my!
Am I right?
No, I did not. No, I did actually. Yeah, and there's
Zeeble's made an appearance on multiple podcasts. You're welcome.
I could actually get Wits back in there and get Oscar Allen down to like a Ben King or someone like that. But yeah, that F4, and I think that's a discussion for another pod. That's the one I've debated a lot. But yeah, Canelio, I'm probably surprised he's not
F5 Zeeble, mate. F5, just do it.
I'm surprised Canelio's not owned as
much
much as he is, because
I've got 4 primos as well, Chris. Same as
you. My man.
Yeah, Dunkley, Canelio, Rosie, Trento.
Yeah. And that's me.
And do you have Cameron though? Because I do worry, like having.
I've got him out at the moment.
Yeah, I think with those
I do at the moment. I do at the moment, but I'm trying to work towards getting him to English.
We really should take this to a different pod, boys, and stuff like that. Let's go through the Giants, and whenever we get on and have this discussion, I'll get us back on track. Yeah. All right. So that's
thanks, mate.
That's the premiums, because as much as I want to talk that, we could talk that all night. That I guess there's the 2 kind of breakouts that we need to focus on. One, unfortunately, is no longer the breakout that we were kind of wanting, and that's Harry Himmelberg, because he is playing forward. He started in my team, I was at one point looking at him being at D1. I was like, no, I'm just going to rule.
Oh, yeah. I had him D1 for like 3
D1
months
as well. Or I was going to go maybe D2 with Dacos. I was just like, I'm all in. Himmelberg, all in. Awesome. Was awesome for me last year, and is playing forward. So yeah, okay, so that's done. That's done. That's all we need to talk about. That he's just a one to watch, because for whatever reason, if there's a structure change throughout the year and he goes back to defense, we know what he can do. But cross him off the list for now. He's playing forward. The other one, and this guy's more rookie price, but it's hard. It's in that balance, 244K, and that's Finn Callahan. Yeah, and that, so he's borderline very, very expensive rookie / breakout. Yeah, a high draft pick. He's the guy that everyone's talking about replacing Taranto and Hopper in that midfield. He's going to start off as a break even of 44.
Well, him and Perryman's also been heavily linked into that midfield.
I do like Perryman. Well. I actually do.
I do too. But he's very not standard relevant, because he's super awkwardly priced at 520K as a midfielder.
Yeah, exactly.
But one that he's a draft slider, because everyone's like, who's Perryman?
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, Perryman will average more.
Day, and I'm like, yeah, no, I think I've got him in a couple of drafts, which I'm very happy with. But Finn Callahan, he's bounced in and out of my side. And I think the problem that it comes down to those rookies. So a lot of people have got Ashcroft Phillips as M7, M8. So are you playing Callahan at M7 and moving Phillips or the Hewitts all to your bench and having that much cash on your bench? Or are you going Dom Sheed versus Callahan?
That's where I'm at as well. And I think the other consideration that I've been throwing around as well is I for a while was really worried about Phillips, and I didn't hear much about him in the preseason, blah, blah. I thought that he might be a sub-risk, because I thought he might be the 23rd best player. And then it's just been Phillips is killing it, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm actually moving. Now I've moved back to, okay, Phillips on field has to be on as your M8. So he's either, if you're playing Callahan, then he's obviously got to be your M6, in which case you can't, there's no physical way you could run, say, a Dom Sheed and a Hopper, and you probably have to run Hopper. Yeah. So, I think I've just come to the conclusion that I'll probably run Dom Sheed and then make sure I've got enough bank just to go to Setterfield if I need to. Or drop him down to Callahan.
Yeah,
if that's
it's easy to go that way than the other way. Instead of going starting field and Callahan, Sheed goes on a heater and Callahan, stinks it up for whatever reason, and you're going, okay, how do I get the extra, 90K to get up to him? I know some people like to start money in the bank and that and have that, but I know that's not usually the strategy for a lot of people. And then, because of Hewitt's form at the moment as well, that's 150K on the bench. So how much, money for these expensive rookies do you want? So I really like Finn Callahan. I think he's got the
mate.
role, but sorry, Benny.
I said on our second pod, I think it was the midfield pod, Will Phillips is the biggest lock in the rookie midfield this year.
I wasn't going to take him out of my team. I was just going to put him onto the bench because I was worried about him being a sub risk.
M8 or M9? And I've done that as well.
You thought I meant other Phillips and you laughed at me.
Yeah. So that's
funny.
where it's at with that. So I think that's a personal preference, one to watch through the preseason matches. I guess also it depends how many other Giants you want in the team. That's a great fixture to start off with again. So and I guess it comes down to that. What are you going to do with that 90K? Like if that's the difference between you getting up to Cornelio in the forward line or getting up to say Stewart in defence, then maybe go Callahan. But if there's a way you can structure your team and maybe in a perfect world, if you've got the luxury of having Callahan at M7, Ashcroft M8, and Phillips at M9, well, great, no problems. But I'm worried that you're going to miss Phillips's points then, and then is it too much then to bench Callahan? So it's a really tough one. But I think he's definitely in the conversation.
I'm conflicted because pick 3 apparently super silky, great left foot, and all the rest of it. So I see the upside. Pick 3, like great player, now more upside, more opportunity, the rest of it. And then I also look at the fact that he played 5 games and didn't go over 80 once. So I'm like, it's that flip side. So again, preseason. Watch preseason, watch the games, and if he scores well over a couple, then
the type of player that he's been compared to is Petrarca. Now I'm not sure that's all true. I don't know. I've not, but that's what his teammates have called them. They've called Green and Callahan the Oliver and Petrarca of GWS.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if that's the case, it's going to take Callahan a few more years to be that sort of real premium style option, but you might want to.
Someone said like Pendlebury originally when he got drafted, like a Pendle's smooth operator, classy.
Hey, could be. As I said, I didn't. I'm just quoting what Sam Taylor said it. So is he the cap? He's not the captain, is he?
No, he's a young defensive player.
Yeah, he's not the captain.
No, he's
Who is the captain of GWS at the moment?
Green won.
Toby Green was it, or did he lose it?
Toby Green.
No, he won. Toby Green won, and he jumped up and fist pump and all the rest of it, and carried on. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me.
Look at me.
Let's get onto a couple of these rookies. All right, there's not a huge amount for a team that has blooded some players and that, but I think the ones that are of interest, 2 expensive ones to start off with: Xavier O'Hallahan and Brett Daniels. Yep. Brett Daniels being the small forward. Now there's definitely a role there with Bobby Hill going out. Has obviously played in the past. I think he missed a lot of last year because of injury as well. I'm actually thinking, did he even play at all last year? No, he didn't. So that's where he's at the discount rate, where the year before it was only a 57 average. But, for a guy who's 191K in the forward line, he's shown before that, that 60 can definitely make you that 150K that we're looking for. So it is an option, and that if it was the right role, you'd want him pushing more off from the half forward flank. And as we've said, with a couple of those players missing, O'Hallahan, again, I think the problem is with Green and Callahan, they're the ones that are most likely get in the role, and that, another one who's a highly touted junior, but I just don't think. I think he was obviously going to get a lot more games now, but definitely, I don't think it's going to be him. 22 years old. Was he picked? I think 22. So maybe it's now or never kind of situation, but still at 202K. If he was 140, then it's a different discussion. So that you got those 2. Then you've got the next one, which is Harry Ralston. I don't know if you guys have got any more information on him, but he was their academy boy, pick 16. He was probably meant to go like early 20s, but the clubs, I forget who moved up to bid on him higher. Clearly, there was some interest with him. Average 23 disposals, 5 clearances, playing in that Allies midfield last year, so he definitely can find the ball. and there's been a lot of good talk about him. So I think
There
he'll
was-
get opportunities.
Yeah,
but-
no, there was some chat about him today in the intro. He apparently performed really well, but he wasn't playing for the ones per se. So, yeah, again, someone to watch, but I don't think he's going to be anything to start. But who knows?
The problem is because he went in the first round, he's that little bit more expensive. Sorry, Benny.
Yeah.
No, I haven't heard much about Ryan Angwin either. He played, I think, one game as a sub last year, so he's $123,000 forward mid. Was pick 18 in the 2020 draft. 6 minutes for 2Ks. I think it was 8.4 seconds for the agility. So someone who's extremely agile and fast and fit.
They've got a lot of talent on their list. It's just like, who's going to come through?
I'm looking at him just because of the fact that he was sub for one game, and then it flags it even like with Sharp. It's like, well, the fit and agile players, are they a perfect sub candidate? But I am watching to see. I haven't heard much about him this year, but I'm kind of hoping that I see something.
Same as Connor Stone, who was pick 15 in the 2020 as well. These guys, surely they get some game time at some point, but I'm just not sure when that is. Jason Gilby, he just loves milk. So I guess there's that as well. Have you heard that?
Well, the last one,
so good.
The last one I need to talk about is Nicholas Madden. So he is 204 centimeters, 112 Ks, ruck forward. Everyone's picking him as the loophole option, the 102K swing. Hopefully Darcy Cameron, comes in that forward line, and he's the guy that you can use the swing later in the year. So I think that's obviously everybody's on him. Don't expect him to play. However, Bruce Flynn Briggs, we saw the Giants absolutely swap around their rucks all last year, and we know Bruce always seems to get injuries. So, with their forward set up, you never know. Like there is a possibility that this guy at some point sees a game, but I'd say he's a long way off at the moment.
Yeah, and they've also got obviously who's the former Collingwood player that is very average. Hold on.
Lockie Keefe.
Lockie Keefe, yeah. So they've also got Keefe on the list as well, who could pinch in the ruck. So, I mean, is he fifth fiddle, somewhere along there?
Something like that. So, no, but just the way they seem to fall down all the time. That was that. All right, and finally onto the kind of their more draft smokies. So the first one is Lockie Ash. Taranto and Hopper leaving, but it's more, I think that was the original thing. We're like, could he get some CBAs? But the more juicy thing seems to be he's moving to half back. So I don't mind that as a later option there in some drafts. I know we've had that discussion with keeper leagues about definitely me holding on to him, and that. So yeah, I think he's worthwhile to watch later on. Unless you guys have got anything more to add about Mr. Ash.
Nah, not really. He's not Supercoach relevant. Without
Draft.
Oh yeah, I mean, if he gets kickouts, yeah. But I think what did he do the year before? 89 average.
Yeah, he's a midfielder at the moment. I'm expecting him to pick up defense.
Yeah.
So obviously,
therefore you can pick him up super late and then just be like, hopefully transition him to the defense. This would only apply if, say, usually what we find, depending on how many players are in your league, will depend on how many defenders go up. But there's a lot of defenders generally, so you don't really have to target defenders to get them. Yeah. So
I think he's
same with Whitfield, right?
He's to watch just because if he looks like he's getting kickouts or getting a good roll down defense, it could be a really good waiver option. And that early,
because he's a midfield.
He's a midfield because a lot of people aren't going to pick him up at that midfield average. But if if he's starting in defense, he's going to pick it up round 6.
Are we writing off Whitfield completely for standard? Because I don't think that's a thing.
No, I think he's relevant.
He's relevant.
I considered starting him.
That was my next one. Where do you take him in draft?
I was considering starting him in standard.
Yeah, but he's a midfielder.
No. Here's the thing. So you start him in standard with a plan of moving him to defense. He's a 473K defender.
I just think I pick him up when he gets defense.
Yeah, but what's he going to be in round 6? 580?
There's
560?
Nah, he won't be 580.
At best, it's going to be 520.
Do we? Okay, come on, guys. You're underselling Whitfield as a halfback.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Well,
Mate,
He'll
he's
go from a
100.
92 to 100 average. And
Yeah, he
he'll probably
goes to like
from
100, mate.
100 average. Do you guys know who you're talking about? This guy's
Yes.
averaged 110 for periods before.
Yeah,
You forget
periods,
I
mate.
had him. I actually ranked him as the number one defender with our podcast.
We both have
in
in back-to-back years.
We did that.
yeah, and failed miserably.
It's
he
like
did
you
have
guys
that year
forgot
was
how good
111.
Whitfield was.
He's not coming out.
He's
going
gone back to
111
he's
for a
gone back to
second.
halfback. If they play that possession halfback switching role, and they get the ball to Whitfield, all of a sudden it's game on. He's going to be hitting 140s every week. Like, guys,
don't be silly. Yeah.
No, he had 6
I'm
points.
just saying,
more
don't. If in round
last
3,
year.
okay, let's say it's round 3, right? Tom Mitchell's sputting it up. He's averaging 105, whatever. You've got him in your team. Whitfield's gone backline 130, 135. Are you trading Mitchell to Whitfield, banking 50K, and watching Whitfield go through to defensive status?
No, because I'm not stupid enough to start Tom Mitchell.
Hey, these are scenarios that could happen, right?
The only other one I want to mention there from to watch from a draft point of view is underpriced Nick Haynes, just because he's had injury history the last couple of years. But I think it was 2 years ago he went 98 or 3 years ago. So just another one that if he's back fit and playing, just another like late smoky kind of there to watch. They've got a few options in defence.
Chris is feeding the nuffies. It's like, remember that time?
Yeah.
What was it? Gorn or Grundy had a really poor round, or someone had a poor round. I don't remember who it was. And Westhoff went like 140 in the first round one, and everyone's like traded Westhoff into their ruck line or something stupid.
Sounds exactly like something I did.
Let's just trade out a midfielder for another midfielder, and I hope he gets DPP and fire. For sure. No, I do.
I don't think it's hope that he's going to get DPP. I think he is getting DPP. He's not playing wing this year. He's playing halfback.
I thought the same about McGrath in defence last year.
And this is where the problem comes.
85 in the midfield all year.
Exactly where the problem comes.
It was great.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so maybe it's someone you don't start, but maybe someone you trade into.
You seem to remember Sicily started at 400 odd, and he was killing it and still didn't really get priced out for a while.
No. Sicily did this stupid thing where he went like 105, 105, 105, 105. And so no one was picking him up. And then all of a sudden he goes 130, 140, 150. Like, he just killed it in the back. Dude, yeah, that was annoying. I was like, nah, I don't need to jump on him. He's not scoring that great.
Whitfield's not Sicily.
That's true.
Yep.
I think that probably rounds us up.
Yeah, that's it for me for GWS, mate.
I'd get Whitfield about 100, Chris. I'd take him at 100 in draft. There you go.
Thanks, mate. I needed that information for when I need to take him.
That's fine. You just take it a little bit above that. That's fine.
You guys
I don't mind it.
I don't want the heartbreak.
You don't, 82% of games. Toby Green, the only one interested in draft, Toby Green?
I don't mind it, but again, it's.
Well, he did average 90.9 in 2021.
Yeah, but I don't think he's the one moving up to the midfield again. I think he's got to play forward to give them a goal scoring option.
Yeah, he's got to be forward.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, when he doesn't play, they really lack scoring power.
That's why I brought up Sam Taylor before, because I'm not Sam Taylor, Nick Haynes, because Himmelberg's going back forward, and Haynes was out injured.
He did well. He did well in the series as well. In intercepting was in the same article with Green.
Yeah, well, that's right. And Haynes, as I said, 2 years ago, I think it definitely was a year 87. I feel like there was another year that was better. So that's one of those ones that
I think he went on the heaters like in the back end of a year, and then everyone jumped on the next year.
Yeah, the last 2 years have been poor.
But it's just who's going to be the intercept guy. You think, okay, Sam Taylor's going to be locked down with Himmelberg going back forward. Haynes is most likely to be the guy.
Yeah, if you have like Ash, Whitfield, etc., it's probably you're right. I think it's him.
So that's one late in your drafts where nobody's going to look at him. All of a sudden you go, oh, here we go. This guy could average me 80, 85 as my last defender, bench defender. You beauty.
Yeah, if the role's there, I don't mind it.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
These are the players that we talk about that win your draft.
Yeah, because no one remembers them. And you go, hey, this person has averaged 80, high 80s before. Yeah. And he's got the role, he's taking intercepts, and you just throw him on your bench, and that's what happens.
Exactly.
I do like it. I think that kind of wraps it. And Callum Wood also forward, probably getting DPP at that rate.
Yeah, but I'm not
what
touching
did he average? 86, 85. Jeez. Don't really like him as an option, boys. Are you passing on that?
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I'm pass. Hard pass.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh,
Not
that's
going
good,
there
mate.
at all.
I'm all good.
All right, done, and done. GWS, lots of relevant information, particularly for those premiums. I think it's probably the hardest thing to split is some of those, and obviously going through the Callahans and the rest of it. That's it. We'll move on to the Gold Coast next, and there's definitely a lot up in the air for the Gold Coast, especially for draft leagues. So much up in the air. So stay tuned for that one, and we'll hit you up. Talk to you soon.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.